Hi, I'm Geoff Phillips. Welcome to this overview of Inkscape. It's not really a tutorial, it's probably too much for a tutorial, but the idea of the video is to give you an impression of what Inkscape can do, or we're really just scratching the surface, I guess. Now at any time during this video you want to know which keystrokes I've pressed, have a look up in the top right hand corner here and you can see if I press 1 for example to zoom 1 to 1, or hold then the space key, you can see that light up. And that might help because I won't always describe exactly what I'm doing. You might need to pause the video and check the keystrokes. Anyway, you can get Inkscape from www.inkscape.org, and when you install it and run it for the first time, it may not look like mine. One thing I did was go to View, Custom, and that places the icons in the arrangement that I've got here. Now to zoom around, and again check the keystroke little window up here if you need to, I use the middle mouse button, MMB, on this keystroke indicator, and you can drag the page around, or holding down the control key and mouse wheel up or down, you can see that I can adjust the zoom level. I don't use the zoom down in the bottom here, I just use the mouse wheel and the control key. Now I'm just going to close these dialog boxes that I've got here and show you how to obtain them if you need them. The ones that I use the most are the fill and stroke dialog boxes, Control Shift F to bring that up, and the alignment dialog, Control Shift A. If you need to go back to the fill and stroke now, I can click on that and up it comes. Close that. Okay, now the first tool I'll look at is the text tool. So T for text. You can see this icon over here lights up. It might be a bit hard to see. You can get it from the what's called the toolbox over here as well. I just click and start typing. If you need to edit text because you made a mistake, you can just click the cursor in there and type the missing letter. Sometimes it's a bit hard to get precisely where you need to. Control mouse wheel up, zoom can help, and you can click and get the cursor exactly where you need to. Okay. The select tool up here, F1, gets you out of the editing and you can select an object and delete it. I won't delete it yet. If I want to go back to typing in that text box, hit T, and you'll notice that the font box comes up here. I can change the font down to Times New Roman or something like that, and it changes all of the text. You just don't have to highlight it, it will change it all. I'll Control Z to get out of that. You can change the style and the font size and all those things, even text spacing over here. I know I'm hiding it from this box, but there are other text settings that you can play around with. Back to the select tool. Now the text that's there, if I hit the select tool to select it and I go Control D, that duplicates that text in place. So if I drag it out of the way, you'll see there are two copies. I Control Z, holding in the control key and dragging with the left mouse button drags it vertically or horizontally. If I now do it horizontally, Control and drag, drags it horizontally. Okay. You can copy text, highlight it with the select key, Control C to copy, and Control V to paste, and it pastes it in the middle of where the cursor is. That's quite handy as well. One amazing thing about Inkscape, I think, is that you can stretch the text. You know, not that you'd use that design perhaps exactly, but you can manipulate it and you can still edit it by typing T for the text tool, and it's still editable. That's quite amazing. Back to the select key, you'll see me hit that quite a bit. If you click something a second time, you see rotation handles, and you can drag that around. It drags around the centre of rotation. If I click it once, twice again, there's a little cross here which is the centre of rotation. If I drag that to over here and now rotate it, it'll rotate around that point. So that's quite handy as well. Okay, perhaps onto the Bezier tool, which is over here, or B. If I click once, let go of the mouse, I'll hold down Control to constrain myself to horizontal, click again, then enter, that finishes the line. Under stroke style up here, I can increase that to whatever size I want, down to nothing even. I'll leave it at that. You can put an arrowhead on it. I can Control D to duplicate that, and go back to the select tool, and I can rotate the duplicate left, and I've got a set of axes. I'm just going to drag this text out of the way. You have to actually hit part of the letter, not white space. And if I drag around this, now notice I've got part of the angled text there, but it won't be, an object won't be selected unless it's completely enclosed, so that's good. I'm going to go Control G to group that. That means now that I can drag this around as one group. If for some reason you wanted to edit part of a group, you can't get it by just clicking because the whole group's selected. Just Control click and I've selected the vertical axis, and I can increase the weight of that, for example. I'll Control Z a few times to get out of that. Okay. You can also produce a curve with the Bezier pen tool. And click. I'll click a couple of times. Oh, I dragged and I've created a handle. Click and drag. Oh, I'm getting into a bit of trouble there, which you can easily do with the Bezier pen tool. I'll just click once, then I'll click and drag on the second point, then click twice, the third time, press enter. You see I've got a curve. If I press N for the node tool, you can see the nodes there, and I can drag that curve around, or I can drag the gradient handle to change the grade, how long the gradient persists for, or how rapidly it changes. That can be a bit fiddly, the node tool, but it's worth looking at, and it has some advantages which I'll show you in a minute. I'll delete that. In fact, one of the advantages is in editing a square root sign that you might want to extend to put over something. Now you can draw your own square root sign using the Bezier pen tool. I'm just clicking and hold down Control, just constrain vertically, or sorry, horizontally, press enter. Now that's okay, and I use that a lot of the time, but you might want a more sophisticated square root sign. I get that from Word. Word no longer supports equation editor, but you can get a free version of MathType to install. Under MathType I'll go to inline and I'll select a square root template and close and return document 1, yes, and if I click on that and Control C from within Word, then return to Inkscape and Control V. Sometimes that doesn't work. I can have memory problems when I'm recording videos, or sometimes you need to restart Inkscape if things don't work. It doesn't happen too often, but it's worth knowing. I'll zoom in, Control mouse wheel, and I might want to enclose something that needs a longer square root sign, so I click on that, N for the node tool, and I drag a marquee around these 2 points there. I'll actually zooming in, trying to zoom in there, and I'll start again. I'll drag a marquee around those points and Control drag, and you can drag the square root sign to whatever length you need. So that's quite handy, and that looks a little bit more professional, that one. Fractions are another thing that I use the Bezier pen tool. I just use the vinculum, click, Control, click, enter. I've got a vinculum, text tool, type 1, and drag it over, say there, Control D to duplicate, text, and back to the select tool, drag around that. Under the align and distribute menu, I can align them, make sure last selected is up in this box here, align them centrally, and then distribute the spaces. Control G to group is a good idea, then I can drag it around. If I need to shrink it down, I can do that, and that's very handy. It's a bit fiddly setting them up. Once you've got one fraction, you can click on it, Control D to duplicate, and then text to edit, and away you go. So it takes a while to set up, but you've got full control over, I select the group, over what you do with them. See, it's snapping there, which can be a bit annoying. It's sort of a magnetic effect. You can turn off the snapping tools up here, and away you go. Finally, Well, the next major section is the shapes that I'll show you. Open the toolbox, click the rectangle tool, click and drag, you can produce a rectangle. You fill it with a colour. If you want a coloured border, it's shift click the colour. I'll use a blue, a bit hard to see, so I'll go to the blue, the stroke style, and increase the size up to 1.5 millimeters there. While the rectangle tool is active, this little circle here allows you to round the corners. If you want to go back to a sharp corner, up here, this icon here. If you want to actually have more control and more nodes, you can actually go path, object to path. Now if I press the node tool, you see these nodes can be dragged anywhere and you can get all sorts of shapes. You can use a grid, view, show hide, page grid, and if I turn the snapping tools on and snap to grid is on, you can drag points, to get precise shapes, parallelograms, trapeziums, all sorts of things. I'll turn the grid off by view, page grid off, select tool, and of course you can scale down a shape by clicking a corner. I'm holding Control Shift to scale about the centre, or we can go that way, or vertically. You notice the stroke returns to the same width. If you want the stroke to scale as well, you can click this icon here, and now if I scale it up, the stroke's bigger and the stroke's smaller. I'll Control Z back to that one, and I'll turn that scaling stroke off. I usually have that off. The circle and ellipses tool, I'll click that. Again, Control Shift. Now something funny is happening there, because when I was practicing I had it on a sector, so I'll change it back to a circle up here. Again, I'll fill it with yellow. This time I might shift click red and change it up to 1 millimeter. Now while this shape, the circle tool, is active, I can click this little circle. If I drag outwards from the circle, I can create sectors. That's very powerful and very handy. Notice if I go inwards, I get a segment like that. I'll Control Z to go back to the circle. Again, if I want to have more control over the editing of nodes, I can go path, object to path. Now if I press N for the node tool, you can see these nodes are here, and I can hold down Control to drag this vertically and create an egg shape, what have you. So there's lots of control that you've got with the shapes. Finally, a couple of extensions in Inkscape. I'll show you the graph extension first. If I want to produce a graph, you've got to have a rectangle to show Inkscape what size you want the graph to be. Extensions, under render, it's hidden away here. Function plotter, I'll leave x sin x, and I've got a pi scale here. You can click live preview, but I'll click apply and close, and you can see if I zoom in, there's quite a good graph. Select tool, if I want to get rid of the rectangle, I can do that. I can select the graph, shift click, make it red. You've got quite an accurate graph there. I can scale that down, and I might want to put it on the axes over here. Scale it up a bit. You can zoom right in, I can see I've got to drag it down a bit there, and maybe across to the right a bit here. I might want to bump up the size of the graph to match that of the axes. So you can get some very good graphical effects using Inkscape. Have a look under that render section, extension, render. You can create triangles and all sorts of things according to the side lengths or angles, whatever you need. Finally, if I want to, I'm going to zoom out here, if I want to save this document in a format that other people who haven't got Inkscape can open, I go to File, Save As, and I change the format to PDF, give it a name. I'll save it to the desktop and save. I set it to 300 dpi is a good setting. Go OK. Now I'll just drag this out of the way. If I minimise Inkscape, I'll close Word. Oops, don't save. And you see here's my test file on the desktop. If I double click on that, it opens up in the moment Adobe Reader, and it's quite a clear copy. The only trouble is we can only produce one-page documents. I'll go back to Inkscape, but you can use a PDF splitter and merger such as PDF SAM, or if you've got the full version of Acrobat through your school license or whatever, you can stitch separate pages together. If I drag something over to the side here off the page border, it won't print. You can keep things there that you might want to use in documents and bring them in to the printable area. Now that completes this quick overview. Not so quick, I guess I've gone on a bit long now, but if you want more information, see the other videos in my Inkscape for Teachers YouTube channel. And there's another person that has some very good Inkscape training. Search for Photo Advanced 2. There's a guy, I think he's a Russian guy, but if you persist with the accent, he's very good, so I recommend those to you. Okay, that completes this video. Thanks for watching.